Power tools use many ball bearings to allow various components to rotate. Over time, a ball bearing will wear and begin to fail. A bearing that is failing will usually give warning, often with a squeaking or squealing sound. Replacing a ball bearing is a repair that you can do yourself, and I'm going to show you how.
Hi, I'm Mark Socha.
Do-it-yourself repairs like these are easier than you might think. From lawn machines to cordless drills, kitchen mixers,
Outdoor grills.
our how-to videos walk you through each repair from start to finish. So doing it yourself means never having to do it alone.
Let's get started.
I'll begin by removing the blade clamp release from the front of the recip saw. Now remove the shoe from the saw. And now I can remove the boot. Now remove the rear handle from the saw. And now I'll pull the brushes away from the commutator. I'll take the tension off of the brush spring, pull the brush out a ways from the holder, and then just rest the spring against the brush. Now remove the gear case from the motor housing. Now I can remove the armature. Now I can remove the old bearing. When the bearing is pressed onto the armature shaft at the factory, it's pressed to a specific spot. There's nothing to stop the bearing here. So I'll need to mark the shaft so when we replace the bearing, we'll know how far to press it into place. I'm going to use the sharp end of a pick to score a line onto the armature shaft right up against the bearing race. And I'll use that as my reference point when we press the bearing back on. Now I can remove the bearing. I'll place a bearing separator over the bearing, tighten it down, and now I'll place the separator on top of the jaws on my vise. Now I'll use a socket that has a diameter slightly smaller than the inner race of the bearing. I'll place the socket on the armature shaft and use a mallet to tap the armature free. Now I can install the new bearing. I'll adjust my vise jaws so that this collar rests just on top of the jaws. I don't want it too tight or I'll damage the gear. Now I'll place the bearing onto the armature shaft. I'm using a socket that has a diameter about the same as the inner race. And I'll slowly tap the bearing down until I align it with the reference mark that I made earlier. Now I'll reinstall the armature to the gear case. As I install it, I need to align these tabs with the openings on the gear case casting. Now I can reassemble the armature and gear case assembly to the motor housing. I'll use a pick to pull the bearing sleeve out of the motor housing. I'll reinstall it onto the armature bearing, and I'll slide this assembly back into the housing. Once it's aligned, I'll secure it with the screws. Now I'll re-engage the motor brushes and reinstall the motor to the handle. I'll make sure that all the wires are out of the way, and then reinstall the second half of the rear handle. Now I'll reinstall the boot and the shoe. And I'll finish up by reinstalling the blade clamp release. And now you know how to install a new bearing in your power tool. Be sure to check back often for new videos and expert advice. If you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up.
And leave a comment.